Hello everyone. Let's look a bit further into inventory and demand management in the supply chains. So we have gone through different type of inventories. Now let's look at how that inventory level change. There are two different type of system. One is the periodic inventory and the other one is continuous review system. Now, as it named, periodic inventory, which means that we review the inventory levels after a period. Now, it could be weekly, it could be daily, it could be quarterly, it could be monthly, it could be yearly as well. Now, yearly is going to be a very long period to review the inventory. Now, basically, so monthly, weekly, or maybe quarterly. Now, in that, what we do, you might have heard the term stock take. Now, stock take is a term when we go and try to calculate how much inventory we have for each and every component. And we plan for the order to order the inventory based on the stock take. Now, many of the organizations, they work on the periodic inventory system. In that, they make the purchase orders in an interval. For example, every week they send one purchase order based on the inventory level. Now, the second one is continuous review system. In that, they continuously reviewing the inventory. So, continuously means almost daily, real time inventory tracking based on whenever the demand is and customers buying the product from us. When the inventory level goes down, they order more inventory. So the difference between the periodic inventory system and continuous review system is periodic is after a set interval, maybe weekly, maybe fortnightly, or maybe monthly or quarterly. But the continuous review system is as soon as the inventory level drop below the threshold, you order more inventory. Now there is a trade-off between them. It is possible for some of the components you do periodic inventory review, and for some of the components you do continuous review. That could be based on the demand. If the component demand is very high and fluctuating, the demand surge is too high, then in that case, we normally go for continuous review system. If the demand is constant and there is not much fluctuation in the demand, then we might use the periodic inventory review. Now, both are good in depends on the context, depends on the circumstances, depends on the component and depends on the demand. But both systems have their own unique properties. In the periodic review, you don't have to raise so many purchase order, you just raise purchase order based on the weekly or monthly or the quarterly interval. But in continuous review system, there could be more purchase order to be raised, which is more cost associated with raising the order in continuous review system. So we have to always think about which type of inventory review system is good for a particular component or the product. Now let's have a look at the example of continuous review. So in this example, the total inventory holding space is for 200 units, or the total inventory they order at any point is 200 units. Now the threshold is 40 units, which means that as soon as the inventory level goes down to 40 units, they have to place an order. This is the time 1 to placing an order, and time 2 when they will receive the order. So they already know the lead time between placing the order and receiving the inventory. Now let's suppose that the daily usage of 10 units per day. You got 200 units. As soon as it reach 160, you consume 160, you are going to order more. So 10 units per day. Within 16 days, you will consume 160. So as soon as the inventory level reach 40 units remaining, you are going to order. Now, remaining 4 days is the lead time, and you know that within 4 days the supplier will supply the goods during that period. After the 4 days, at the time your inventory is reaching to 0, you receive the goods, the new or the fresh delivery for those components, and the inventory level goes back to 200. And then you use the same idea or the same review in the next iteration of it. So 200, then it goes down to 40, then you raise the purchase order again. So in that case, you are using the continuous review. Now it is possible then instead of 10 units per day, the usage increase because of the surge in demand. So if you are using 20 units per day, which means instead of 16 days, you are going to consume 160 within 8 days. Now, if you consume within 8 days, you need to adjust your order point, which is the 8th day. But now you got only 40 remaining, and you will consume that within 2 days, not 4 days, and your lead time is 4 days. So we need to adjust that ordering point before that. That is an important thing we need to think of. Now, there are different inventory models to consider when we are ordering the inventory. So, for example, the first one is fixed order quantity model. In that, we assume that all the cost, which is the cost of sales, unit cost, holding cost, inventory holding costs, any lead time will be constant, any stock in cost or stock out cost will be constant as well. We know the certainty that it will certain that there will be no changes in any of these variables, and it will remain constant. So that is the fixed order quantity model, when the cost is fixed and we know that everything should be fine. Now, economic order quantity model, where we consider the ideal quantity to order, which is the minimum quantity based on the demand, meeting the demand, and based on the manufacturing as well. Now, the inventory costs in that, such as the holding cost, shortage cost, or the order cost, that we need to consider when we are talking about a economic order quantity. The next one is quantity discount model, where we look for more quantities or buying more quantities and getting more discount. So it's kind of bulk buying more inventory to get discount. And sometime you might have seen the offer that if instead of 1, if you buy 5, you will get a better price of that item. But that model is always not good. There is sometimes drawback because you need to keep the inventory with you. So the keeping of inventory might cost you more than what you saved when you get the discount. So for example, there were 5% discount and the total discount was £1,000, but the inventory holding cost might be 1,200. So in a way, you are not saving £1,000, you are spending £200 more than you desired. The other one is economic manufacturing quantity model. So in that, we determine the quantity a company or retailer should order to minimize the total inventory cost by balancing the inventory. and the holding cost. So we look at the inventory, how much inventory we need to order based on all these scenarios. It's all about how much inventory to order, not just the continuous review or periodic review, but at the same time determining based on that how much inventory we should be ordering. That is, for example, the example I given you earlier on the continuous review, if the demand surged and you are consuming 20 components instead of 10 components per day, then your order point will be much more earlier. And we need to reconsider the timeline, the delivery, the lead time, and all the variable associated with that. So for that, different models can be utilized in different scenarios, but at the same time, we can use the hybrid models as well when we got several components. So for example, for one component, we are using economic order quantity. For the other component, we might use quantity discount based on sometime the availability of the product. Maybe the product is not available in the market, or you predict that there might be shortage of the product and you want to buy in bulk and store it so your manufacturing goes smoothly. So these are some of the decisions. There is always trade-off between those decisions. Now let's look at further. Now let's have a look. If we have, let's suppose we have a lot of inventory in stock, and we need to get rid of that inventory. So how can we manage the demand? There are several different ways to manage the demand. For example, advertising and promotion pricing. We need to advertise the product, and we need to put the product on the promotions as well. For example, buy one get one free, or maybe 10% discount, 15% discount, and that is what we see during the festive season, where the companies are offering massive discount. We also see that when a company is discontinuing one of the existing product, and they are coming up with the upgraded version. So the price for the existing product goes down, they put it on discount, they put it on offers, that if you buy it, then you will get a better discount on it. Counter seasonal product, where the demand is constant, which is the base demand throughout the year, and the level capacity, and it has level capacity. So you can use as counter seasonal product where you know that demand will be constant. Channel management, when you can manage, or you can go on from one channel to another channel, or shift the product from one channel to another channel. It could be, for example, you are selling in stores, you want to go for online, and your offer, your promotion is only for the online customers. It is also possible that one product is not selling on one channel, then you switch to another channel and try to sell it there. It could be the TV channels, it could be through radio advertisement, it could be through some different type of advertisement, for example, billboards or catalog sales or something else. Outsourcing, where you increase productive capacity temporarily during the busy period. When the period is busy and you know there is a surge in demand, you can outsource the capacity if you don't have the capacity in house. Product phasing. Product phasing is where you produce new product locally and you relocate your production to other countries. For example, it could be China or any other country. So produce new products in the local area, but when you know the existing product and you are confident on the existing product, and you know that you need more quantity to sell and you don't have capacity here, you can shift the production to the other country, which you because you already know the product, it is already selling, and you know that you can now manufacture it in the other countries. Supply chain management is another way where you improve uncertainty by reducing the lead time and excess stock. And that is what one of the aim of supply chain, that we need to reduce the lead time, we need to reduce the inventory, and we need to reduce the cost of holding the inventory. Now, when we talk about supply chains, there is another interesting thing which we have already talked about in one of the session, which is bullwhip effect. I hope you remember that. Now, in terms of bullwhip effect, what we have learned so far that in bullwhip effect, when there is a sudden upsurge in demand, what happened? The demand travel from consumer to retailers, and from retailers to wholesalers, and wholesalers to manufacturer. What happened here? Consumer demands more product or similar product in more quantity. When the consumer demand increase, let's say 5% increase of consumer demand, then retailers, because they are not holding that much inventory, they send 5% more orders to the wholesalers, and same thing, the wholesalers send 5% more order to manufacturer. Sometime it is possible that instead of 5%, retailer ask for 10% more. And sometime, because the wholesaler think that this product is selling, there is more in demand, let's order 15% more instead of 10%. So what has happened over here? The consumer demand 5% high, retailer demand 10% high, wholesaler demand 15% high. So 15% plus 10% plus 5% is 30% high inventory in the entire supply chain. That 30%, it is possible that the upsurge of demand was only 5%. Now we got 25% remaining inventory. That is the bullwhip effect. Now, that 25% is just inventory. It is not associated with the real demand. So what will happen to that 25%? That 25%, we might need to clear it, we might need to dump it, or we might need to do something else, maybe giving it to charity or something else, because it is not going to sell in the market. Or we might need to wait for another upsurge of demand. So in that way, retailer increase their capacity of inventory holding, wholesaler increase their capacity of inventory holding, and manufacturer increase their capacity of manufacturing as well. It doesn't just stop here, because the manufacturers are going to order for the components or the raw material. Now that upsurge will travel to the component supplier and the material supplier as well. And they might also think that this material, these components are in demand, let's manufacture more of those components, or let's arrange for more material. So the inventory upsurge goes down to the entire supply chain, and that is bullwhip effect. And that could be a dangerous effect, or that could have a dangerous impact in the entire supply chain. And that is why we need to manage the inventory based on the demand. It is very, very important that we manage the inventory based on the demand. We only manufacture the products or the components based on what is required by our customers. If you manufacture more to fulfill or to run our manufacturing based as per the capacity, or to utilize 100% capacity of it, then in that case we need to keep the inventory or hold the inventory for a longer period, which is again high cost or associated additional cost to our products, and that will have negative impact on our manufacturing systems and in our supply chains.